my top favorite books and series I read this year, and then some other books I read this year that I really loved, and then books I just DNF'd because I didn't care for them. So for my top favorite series, I do not have these ranked, but the first series up on here is Surfin' and Dove series, which I read at the beginning of the year. I absolutely fell in love with. It is perfect and everything. I love the characters in it. And then its sequel, Scarlet Veil, is just perfect. It's by the author Shelby Mahern. You need to read Surfin' and Dove and Scarlet Veil. These are two perfect supernatural, in the world of supernatural related books, and I just absolutely ate both the series and Scarlet Veil up. Is so good. Next, an author I genuinely love, and I can't wait to freaking read Realmbreaker and Bladebreaker, but Miss Victoria Aveyard with her series The Red Queen. Even though I had to wait for a while after I read The Red Queen, and then my aunt gave me Glass Sword, and then I had to wait until September to read King's Cage, and then luckily my humanities teacher let me borrow the last two, so Warstrom and Broken Throne, and I finished it. I think I'm missing a book in there too. But I absolutely love this series. It was perfect. I love Callan Mare. I love the dynamic between every character. Next is An Ember in the Ashes. I haven't read the full series yet because I only have the first book. It's going to be the same for a lot of some of these other books. But I really, 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 really loved Ember in the Ashes, and I can't wait to get the other books to read them. I don't remember much, so I'll probably have to reread the first book before I read the last books. The last 3 books, I think. There's only 3 more I need to read. But I still really enjoyed this one. It took me a while to get through it. I don't think I came back to it until July, so I just needed a break from reading until school. But either way, I still really enjoyed An Ember in the Ashes. And then we have the Iron King book. This is a fae romance, kind of fae romance. I think technically that is based on a fairy tale that I can't remember because it's been a while since I read this. But I think I gave it like 4 stars? 4 or 5 stars. I absolutely enjoyed it. I love the little romance in it. It was really good. And then I also read this year Red, White, and Royal Blue. My first time reading an LGBTQ book, and I really enjoyed it. And it was mainly I read it because I watched the movie, so I wanted to get things that were left out of the movie in the book. Honestly, really good book. I really enjoyed it. It was funny. It was cute. It was spicy sometimes. It was so good. And then I read the first book in the Selection series, which is just called The Selection. Really good. Love the romance in it. I just recently got the rest of the books for Christmas, so I will be reading those soon after I get done with A Court of Thorns and Roses, because I want to read that one first. Like, that's on the top of my list. But The Selection was really good, and I'm honestly probably going to read the first book since it's been a while. And then recently, actually, the week before my Christmas break here in Minnesota, or 2 weeks before, I finished the Folk of the Air series, or what I call the Cruel Prince series, because honestly I just would rather call it that. This was good. I freaking enjoyed Jude and Carden. I'm still going through reeling from them. I've been looking up scenes in the book that are in Carden's POV and reading Carden's POVs and saving so much fan art to my Pinterest board in my book/book talk bored on Pinterest, and right now it's just heavily Jude and Cardin fan art and Jude and Cardin cosplays from TikTok. I've been looking at Cruel Prince TikTok almost every day. I'm fucking obsessed with this series, and I really can't wait to read Soul Air, and then hopefully get Prisoner's Throne when that comes out so I can read that. Okay, and then some other things I read this year was the Mortal Instruments series by Cassandra Clare. I really enjoyed this. I had watched the movie, and then I watched the show that was on the CW. I think CW, I might be wrong with that, but it is now on Hulu. And I watched that full thing, and then I was like, I really want to read the books, not realizing how many books was actually in this universe, which is a lot, and it's crazy, and I have not read any of the others other than this series yet. But I still really enjoyed the series. Book 6 was actually my favorite out of every book. The first book I actually read this year was Long Live the Pumpkin Queen, which is Sally's book after the events of Nightmares Before Christmas, and her and Jack get married, and all this crazy shit happens, and I genuinely really enjoyed that book. And then Famous Last Words was my first thriller I really enjoyed. I'm not one to read like crime stuff, because if I do, it is going to fuck my brain really badly, because I have anxiety and ADHD. But this was still really good. Not expecting the plot twist that happened. This is also just a one-off book. And then the little romance we got in it was really cute. I also read the Fawn book, which I didn't know. I knew was getting turned into a TV series, but I didn't know when. And also the fact that the girl that played Vanessa in The Little Mermaid is going to be in it as the main character. I'm really excited to watch that. But either way, I also watched the movie that came out in 2014 after I had read the book. It was okay, but yeah, Fawn was a really good book. I think I ended up giving that one 4 stars, and I need to get the rest of them to read them. I also read a book called Frostfire, which actually deals with trolls, a magical creature I've actually never really seen as a main character in a book before. But it was still really interesting. I really liked the romance in it. I need to get the rest of the books. Yes, I also read Ruby Red, and that one was really good. I don't remember a lot of it because I read that in July while my family was here, and my dad's side of the family was here, and it was quite chaotic. But I know I did really enjoy it. And then I read what I like to call all my witchy books, so any books about crystals, about sleeping, about the night sky, just basically, yeah, I just call them my witchy books. And then the books I DNF'd or didn't end up caring for or reading, I didn't end up reading The White Queen this year, just because I didn't really feel like reading history when I could just look it up on the internet. But I might also end up going back and reading those, but I know there's a ton of books, and yeah. And then Wrath of the Storm, because it's the 3rd book in the series, and I didn't feel like trying to search for the other 2, and I know it's probably easy to find the first 2, but I just ended up not really caring or wanting to read it anymore, so I just DNF'd it. House of Brides I did read, but I only gave it 2 stars because it was a thriller mystery type thing, and that wasn't really my thing, and I just didn't really enjoy it. Unsustainable, I don't honestly remember what this book is about. I know I got it at a garage sale, but I don't remember anything really about it because I never read it, but I know maybe I did start reading it at some point, but I don't really remember what all happens in the book. And then Everneath was because of how I ended up reading the fandom wiki and finding out what happens to the guy that's supposed to be playing Hades, and then the girl that's supposed to be like the Persephone, they don't end up getting together. And I was like, well, I'm not gonna read this if that doesn't happen, because it's Hades and Persephone, and I want Hades and Persephone character like people to end up in the end. And then last but not least, the last thing I DNF'd was House of Night, books 1 and 2 put together into one book. Yeah, this book was personally just started off too slow for me, and then there were things that felt like they happened too fast, and then I ended up kind of reading through the fandom wiki, finding out the main girl tries to have more than one boyfriend, and then there's certain things that happen in some books that I was like, oh my god, yeah, like, would have just made me feel uncomfortable, I feel like. So I just ended up DNFing it because I just wasn't really feeling like reading it. Yeah. But that is every single book I either DNF'd or didn't care for, or basically every book I read this year that I either really enjoyed or just kind of enjoyed enough. But yeah, see you next year. I might make a 2024 TBR list. We'll see. Probably not, but we'll see.